Hey, welcome inside another edition of the Fox Weather ROWI Report. I'm Fox Weather Meteorologist Steve Bender. We are in week 10 of college football, and this is really when you're starting to make that final push for the playoff committee for what we're going to see later on in the season. And we got some games. If you heard this yesterday, we were talking about NFL Week 9. It looks actually pretty good. Weather-wise, a lot of great games, matchups, and fair weather. This one, we have 3 games that we're going to dive into, and some others we'll address that have low risk of weather impacts. But the 3 big games have some rain that could play a big factor. And so I'm excited to talk about some of these matchups. It's all over the country, so we're going to pop around. We're going to start off in the Pacific Northwest. As you'll look, this is Saturday. Obviously, that's when college football is being played, and you'll notice all up and down the I-5 corridor. Seattle, the Emerald City, they are seeing plenty of showers all the way down into Oregon, and that's where we're going to be heading for this matchup. We got the Washington State Cougars going down to Oregon State Beavers. By the way, saying that, both teams are from the Pac Northwest, so regardless, no matter which team had home field advantage, this likely was going to be a rain game as well. And so it's interesting to watch how this is going to unfold. Washington State's 4-4, Oregon State 1-7, so maybe a little bit lopsided in this matchup overall. But let's talk about the risk of weather impact. What we do have is a low that's going to be moving off the North Pacific. As that comes in, you're going to be seeing some of that rain. Mainly coastal areas are going to see the biggest impact. This is at Reser Stadium. This is in Corvallis, Oregon. So this is not along the coast, but it's still going to see that rain. Why you see that precipitation impact at a 7.9. That's important to note. That precipitation impact does include sleet, it includes snow, and of course rain. If it falls from the sky, we're watching it. So this right now, of course, warm in the season. As we progress over the next several weeks, maybe we'll be talking more about that winter precip. With this, we do have a wind impact of 4.6. That puts it at a medium, along with the temperature impact all over this game, because this is a later in the evening time or afternoon, local time, I should say. Kickoff is at 4:30 on the Pacific Coast, but when we're looking at for East Coast, 7:30 p.m. kickoff. Because of that later start, that's why you're looking at the rain for most of the game. This is light rain, though. That's what's important to know. If you've been with us on the Fox Weather ROWI Report, thanks for hanging out with us all season long. But rain's different everywhere, and when you're in the Pac Northwest, it's like that constant drizzle. It's like this gloomy effect. It does make everything slippery, so getting in and out of your cuts, that's going to be difficult. You can't guarantee the catches. I mean, if you're at Oregon State and you've been struggling 1-7, you can't guarantee you're going to get that quick slant, right? But for Washington State, I feel like this may play to an advantage where you start looking at more of that ball control and trying to establish that dominance and building that lead. So this will be something to watch. Both have been struggling with scoring, and this could start to play a big factor with that. If you bet on college football, that's spicy. That's impressive. I don't have that courage because there's so much variability in college football. But I will say with this one, with both offenses struggling, now you add the extra layer of everything just being wet and soggy. I know that under's looking pretty. So we'll be talking more about this game as we get closer to kickoff on Saturday. Let's take you down into Texas now. We're going to go to Austin. We got a big matchup. Vanderbilt taking on Texas. And so, both teams, obviously, a lot of hype and a lot of excitement coming into the season. When we look at this, this game kicks off at noon. What's important to note is looking at our Fox Weather exclusive forecast right now, you see the I-35 corridor. You see some light green if you're watching on the screen. That is not an indication that there's already light rainfall. That could be even an indication of just cloud cover that's starting to build. But as we advance through the afternoon, you create some of that heat instability at the surface. Now you're talking about some thunderstorms. When that red starts to emerge, that's that like deluge of rain. That's usually attributed with some lightning too, which could lead to some delays. But notice the timestamp. We're already talking at 6 p.m. This game's over, right? So what we're watching for is the speed of this event. Does it change at all as we get closer to kickoff? If this accelerates, comes in a little bit sooner, then you could start looking at maybe some of those impacts for the second half of the game. Truly, when I'm watching this and living down south in Louisiana and working in Texas at times, you see this diurnal pattern where through the afternoon it's cooking, right? You start to see the ingredients build. It's late afternoon, early evening is when you get the worst of it. So this is something to watch third, fourth quarter. Obviously, this is a big matchup, ranked Vandy's 9, the best start that they've had since 1941. So impressive there. And of course, Texas, you have Arch, where you had him as a preseason Heisman candidate, a lot of pressure around him, a lot of noise around him. And, that noise at home, maybe it's not a thing that's difficult to deal with. But then when you start talking about, okay, is he consistent enough? And now you have rain that's going to be a factor in that. That's the biggest thing. Look at the precipitation impact. It's a 7.9. We're going to get into this in a moment of why it's such a high scale. But when you look at it, it doesn't look like it's going to last for very long. With that, a wind impact that's relatively low, and then the temperatures, it's a non-factor at this point. So the reason why you saw that precipitation impact so high, even though you're looking at, all right, maybe it's the very end of the game at 3 to 4 p.m. where you're getting it. It's the ROWI is measured by the worst hour of the game itself. So we segment this into different quarters or at least 4-hour increments. And so that's the final hour when you're looking at that 3 p.m. window where you could have those thunderstorms set up. And that's going to be that deluge of rain that we talked about before and potentially some lightning. So the wind is out of, it looks like the east right now, coming in at 10 miles an hour. So that's why the wind factor was limited. But overall, watching the timing of this is the biggest thing. Is it going to be the final drive that's impacted by it? Is it going to be the entire game that goes dry and you're fine? Or is it going to be something in the second half that you're coming out of, second half, you're making some adjustments and then you realize, wait, we need to adjust for the weather as well, because now instead of having sunny skies and cloudy conditions, you got a lot of rain that you got to start adjusting your playbook with. Notice the temperatures, by the way. Why it was a non-factor. I mean, mid-60s. This is pristine football conditions. So one of the things, too, to watch for, I was going to do some research on this. Vandy, their efficiency on early downs, it's 4th ranked nationally right now on first and second downs, and Texas doesn't do so well. So looking at those early downs, now that you don't have weather as a factor, do you go, do you take big shots, right? You're Vandy, you're away, you're in a hostile environment with Texas, and you're trying to establish, hey, this isn't a fluke, right? I know this is the best start we've had since 1941. We're ranked in the top 10. Now we have a top 20 team, and if we beat them, it's just another notch into, their belt for that college football playoff. So this is something to watch for, is if that rain sets up, can they be as aggressive on those first and second downs, or do they have to be more disciplined and systematic with some of that running as well? So, we'll be watching for this overall. Again, all about the timing at which this moves. We're going to stay in the Lone Star State. We're going to kick it down I-45, and we're going to get all the way to Houston now. It's the I-10 corridor. Notice what's happening here. This is another kickoff that's at noon. So you're looking at the ingredients building, and if you're watching here, you'll see that the winds are derived out of the Gulf. So it's coming out of the south-southeast. So it's bringing in all of that humidity, that moisture at the surface. Well, it starts to radiate up. You're starting to get cloud cover. That's what I think we're seeing here. I know there's light green. I think that's just cloud cover, overcast conditions for Houston at the start of this game. But just like we saw with, up in Austin, I-35, now you're getting some of that instability. This one has a better chance of more widespread showers, but I think, again, it arrives a little late. And so you're looking at, again, maybe that final quarter that's going to be impacted overall with this event. I don't think it's going to be a washout by any means, but this is something that even when you're leaving the game, the thunderstorm's going to still be pretty rowdy as you're getting around in those areas, in South Texas. So reason why we're looking at Houston, of course, is because we got the West Virginia Mountaineers taking on the Houston Cougars. And we take a look at, we got two teams that are Cougars, huh? Washington State and Houston. As we look at this game, again, precipitation impact 7.9. This is all measured by the worst hour of the game weather-wise. And it could be playing-wise if it's bad. Wind impact, minimal here as well. Temperature impact, minimal. Big thing with Houston, by the way, they're 7-1. They're ranked 22. So this is one of those games where, you're at home, and now you got a little bit of rain starting to get back into the forecast. You just want pristine conditions. You want to lock in another win, and you want to just keep this momentum going. West Virginia's been struggling. They're 2-6. So I feel like this is going to be something that's going to be able to watch. You want to watch for overall is this rain going to be a big enough factor to keep the Mountaineers in this? Houston's actually been really impressive with their sacks so far this season. In the past 8 games, they've gotten 21 sacks right now. So if you're thinking about dropping back, trying to pass the ball, Houston's coming for you. I think in the second half of the game, you'll notice by 2 p.m., now we're starting to build some of that rain that's coming in. 3 p.m. is where it becomes that widespread. And That's where you reach that medium risk of weather impact. Again, the stadium is a small spot, so trying to see if that would actually hit the stadium or if it's nearby. I don't think there's enough instability in this event as of right now, from what I'm looking at, for there to be thunderstorms. Thunderstorms within 8 miles of the stadium, that leads to that 30-minute delay, and then that starts to add another layer and a factor to all this. I think it's just going to be wet at the very end of the game. I don't think at this point it'll even be close. I think Houston handles business, but something we'll definitely watch for, of course, as we get closer. Now, I'm going to take you to a game where it's a low risk of weather impact, but it's the best team in the country as of right now. So you got Ohio State Buckeyes, they've been rolling, and then the Penn State Nittany Lions. They have been dismal. They have been bad, and I think it gets worse. You look at this. This is the type of game, if you're Penn State, you are hoping for a major weather event, because then you could hopefully hang in this. I think with pristine conditions, I mean, the risk of weather impact, yeah, you see a little bit of something with the wind impact, but that's going to be minimal. Average all this together, a low risk of weather impact. Temperatures, absolute dynamite. Great fall-like football that's going down. The wind is out of the west at 10 miles an hour. That means it could gust from maybe 15, 20 miles an hour. For college football, that does play a factor a little bit, but not when you're Ohio State. Like, you're a well-oiled machine. I don't think this influences you at all. Maybe long field goals. That would be the one caveat to this. This is on into the afternoon, or 12 p.m. Eastern kickoff there in Columbus. So again, another game that is going to be fun to watch if you're an Ohio State fan, and I don't think weather-wise it's going to play a big impact. But we did have 3 games that are going to have an impact, and likely could start to see maybe some adjustments to that risk of weather impact. So that's the thing we want to hear from you. Let's keep the conversation going. I'm on social media at Weather Bender. If you want to reach out to just Fox Weather, answer some of those or ask some of those questions, we can answer them here. By the way, we always do podcast Tuesdays and Wednesdays. That airs at 5 p.m. Eastern, wherever you get your favorite podcasts. That we post them on social media oftentimes. So I'm talking about weather events. We do have graphics that are married to that, so you can kind of understand overall, what's this guy talking about in my ear? Let me see what he's actually saying. We have that ability to show you that on social media. And then we have a lot of fun on Fox Weather. If you haven't had a chance to come check us out, I do a show from 6 to 9 p.m. Eastern each night. And of course, we've been tracking a historic Melissa, the powerful hurricane, the strongest ever to make landfall in Jamaica, and the strongest ever in the Atlantic to make landfall. It ties one back in 1935. I mean, this was a Cat 5, 185 mile per hour winds. There is some concern that it could have been even stronger. That's the big topic right now. But hey, we're in a holiday week. We are going to be talking about Halloween storms that are going to be impacting the central portion of the country and up into the Northeast. So trick-or-treating, if that's on your list, or if you have some outdoor plans, we're talking about that as well. So a lot of fun on the Fox Weather stream. Also, we do Fox Weather Tailgate. We get out on the plaza. We play some fun games. We eat some good food. And so it's a good opportunity to come just hang out, kill some hours with us if you'd like. Or if you just like listening to the pod, hey, we appreciate that too. So thanks for listening to us with the College Football Week 10. We will have a bonus episode coming up later in the week. Until then, be smart, be weather smart.